Hi, and welcome back to the Conscious Movement community. I'm so glad that you're here. Really stoked that you're a member of this community. Today's class is a very important class. It's one of the most important concepts I feel that I've introduced here in the Conscious Movement community. And having said that, there is a little glitch in the audio at about 40 minutes. So once you get there, it's to be expected. I didn't want to just do away with the video completely though, because there's some magic in it that I wanted you to be able to experience. So hopefully you can listen past that and see or experience what I'm trying to put down in today's video. I hope you enjoy. Let's get started. Let's open the right knee off to the right, like so. But now I want you to feel from your left inner hip that you're reaching out through the left big toe mound. Take your left arm up and slowly reach your arm back. But keep stretching from the left inner hip down through the foot, through the big toe mound. Bring your knee and your arm back up. Change sides. Feel the length from your right inner hip, from the psoas, from the top of the lumbar, down through the inner hip, through the inner thigh, into the big toe, and open the knee to the side as you take your arm back. Then bring your knee and your arm back up. Bring both legs up into tabletop position. And as you exhale, curl yourself up towards your knees. And then think of your side ribs hugging in and down towards your hips, but at the same time, your hips stretching out of your lower back. And then as you exhale, we're going to start to slowly stretch the right leg forward, but make sure that you can feel the length from the inner hip through the big toe mound and feel your low abdominals turn on. Change sides. Rebend your knees. Now press your hands into your knees into your hands. Lower your head back down. And I want you to feel that your hips can release out of your back and your low abdominals turn on. And then imagine you're shrinking the skin of the pelvic floor. Now curl up one more time towards your knees. Shrink the pelvic floor. Shrink the low abdominals and then stretch that leg. And you might feel that you can lengthen better through the hip. Change legs. And you can even add this pumping motion like is done in Pilates with the arms to help to remind you to keep activating the armpits, hugging in and down from the side ribs. We're just going to do this for 15 more seconds. And then bring your knees in. Roll yourself up to seated. And come onto your hands and your knees. Curl your toes under. Lift your knees up just an inch. Press into your hands and feel from your lumbar spine, you're lengthening down through your hips. Then pull the hips straight up and stretch back into downward facing dog. Walk your hands back to your feet. Take your feet outer hips distance apart. And this is the last technical part that I'm going to have you pay attention to. Let's bend the knees, put the hands onto the thighs, let your abdomen relax, and then visualize like you have two bands attaching from the side of your lumbar down into the inner hip, through the front, and then one into the back. So as you inhale, feel that those bands can lengthen from your lumbar spine down through your hips towards your feet. And then as you exhale, draw the whole abdomen into the spine. And feel the length through the muscles Stretch through the back of the skull. And then relax that. One more time. Draw the whole abdomen, shrink the pelvic floor so that the energy draws up. And then let it go and fold forward. Walk your hands back out. Then inhale into plank pose. And now as you hold in plank, feel the same length from the muscles from the QL and the psoas, the muscles in the front, from the side of the lumbar, right at the top of the lumbar, going down to the inner hip, and at the lumbar going down towards the back of the pelvis, visualize. Lengthen through there, but then tone the low abdominals. Now maintaining that, bring your right knee up to your right elbow, but keep the length through the left side. Don't let your left side shrink to do it. Change sides, bring the left knee up. Change sides. And we're gonna start to pick up the pace a little bit, as long as you don't let the opposite side of the pelvis shrink into your back when you bring the other knee up. You could feel it, you really have to focus on it if you're gonna work your core right. Usually we have one side that doesn't work as well. And what that does is it creates a dysfunction in the prana pattern so that the life force energy doesn't flow properly. And by retraining in a movement like this, focusing on keeping the length, we can actually change the prana pattern. Then lower yourself down onto the floor. Inhale into low cobra. Even here in low cobra, notice where it wants to bunch up in the back. Flow the length. And the tighter you are in the psoas, the more it's going to make your lumbars try to dip into the floor. So feel the length through the front, move the buttocks out of the lower back and stretch your chest forward. Then lower your chest down, stretch back into down dog. Walk your feet forward to the front. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Bend your knees and roll yourself up one vertebra at a time. And now we're going to do one of my favorite Surya Namaskars to get into the hip flexors, Surya C. Inhale, raise your arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, flat back. Step your left leg back into a lunge and lower your knee down. Feel your left buttock release down as you inhale, come up. Raise your arms up. Breathe space into the front of the left hip. Bring your hands back down. Step back. Plank pose. Lower slowly into chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale your left leg up from the inner thigh, but feel that the pelvis is lengthening out of your lower back. Shift into plank, pull your knee up. Step your foot all the way up by your thumb. Drop your back knee down. Inhale, come up, raise your arms up. Feel the buttock release down as you reach up. It's a deep hip flexor experience now. Bring the hands down, step forward, Uttanasana. Bend your knees, roll yourself up one vertebra at a time. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, flat back. Step your right leg back, lower your knee down. Feel the buttock move down first so that the length can come through the hip, front of the hip, the psoas. Hands back down, step back. Lower slowly into chaturanga. Inhale, cobra, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward dog. Raise your right leg up, inhale. Oh, but just notice if you lift too quick, you'll lose the length in the back sides, those imaginary bands attaching from your lumbar into the back of the pelvis. So keep that length as you stretch your leg. So then you're actually using your core. Shift into plank, pull your knee up, and step your foot. Lower your back knee down. Inhale, come up. Exhale, Uttanasana. Step forward. Bend your knees, roll yourself up. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, flat back. Step back into plank. Lower chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Now step your right foot all the way up to your right thumb. Press down through the center of your right heel and keep your right shin totally upright. Now feel your tail lengthen out of your back, or visualize from those muscles both sides of the pelvis releasing out of the back. Especially that right side, don't let it creep in. Then bring your hands to your knee. Just like we practiced the Uddiyana Bandha action, start to upright yourself, but keep feeling that those muscles attaching, where I'm showing from my hands, down into the hips, those can lengthen. And then as you press down into your thigh, draw the low abdominals in to support you, like you're scooping the skin all the way up from the pubic bone up towards the chest. You can even use the Mula Bandha to help the shrinking of the pelvic floor. And then once you're steady and you have the action, take your arms up and just feel how much more engaged and awake this pose is from the way we normally do it. Bring your hands down and step back into plank pose. Hold in plank or lower slowly into chaturanga and push back up. And then stretch back into down dog. Step your left foot all the way up to your left hand. Press straight down through your heel, shin upright. Feel when you do that, the hip turns on. Now, feel the pelvis release out of your lower back evenly. Hands to your left knee, start to upright yourself. Pressing down into the thigh. Keep the length. Turn on the low abdominals to upright yourself. Scoop the skin from the front of the pelvis. Keep moving the right buttock flesh down out of the back. So from all the sitting that we do, these things get chronically tight. And then we kind of like do ourselves a disservice by not getting the opening there before we start. The lower back ends up taking the burden. Inhale your arms up. So when we go slow like this, you're gonna feel that you're able to get a little bit deeper, especially into like your up dogs and back bends. And it should feel like in the standing poses, there's a lot more space in the pelvis. Hands down, step back. Lower slowly into chaturanga. Lift yourself back up. Stretch back into down dog. Look in between your hands. Step or hop to the top. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold forward. Sit back into chair pose. Stand Samasthiti. Inhale, chair pose. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Step your right foot, warrior one. Inhale to come up. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Step your left foot. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Okay, now we're going to try something. Look in between your hands. Feel the length through the pelvis, but then imagine I was scooping your pelvis up and pulling it with my hands away from your wrists. Now shrink the pelvic floor, turn on the low abs, bend your knees, and then float to the front. Ooh, inhale, flat back. Was a little bit lighter that way, hopefully. Exhale, fold. Inhale, chair pose. Stand, samasthiti. Inhale, chair. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Step or float back, chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Step your right foot. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Step your left foot. Inhale to reach up. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Let's practice that same action. Stretch into the hands. Visualize the hips lengthening up and away from the wrists. Now bend the knees. Shrink the pelvic floor as you exhale. Feel the navel draw in and float up. Inhale into a flat back. Exhale, fold. Sit back in a chair pose. Stand, samasthiti. Let's flow through one more salutation. Move with your own breath. From down dog, look in between your hands. Stretch the pelvis. Bend the knees. Arms like steel. Shrink pelvic floor, low abs as you exhale, float up. Inhale into your length. Exhale, fold. Sit into chair pose. Stand straight down through the center of the heels as you raise your arms. Samastiti. Now step your right foot back about 3.5, maybe 4 feet if your legs are longer. Stand with your hands on your hips. And at first, I just want you to notice, because of all the time that we spend seated in this position, these muscles get very, very tight. And then when you try to stand, they stay tight. And this is kind of what wants to happen for many. For others, the tension will be held like this. Still the tension is there, so that when you try to upright yourself, like when I say stand tall, you still have that tension and then the lower back sinks. So what it looks like in this position is that the front hip bones fall. So instead, I want you to start to lift up through your front hip bones, stretch from the hips down into the feet. Feel it even. So make sure you're not overdoing one or the other, and you're not doing it aggressively, because those psoas and QL muscles, they kind of get like, they'll get irritated if you try to push them too hard. So don't push too hard, too quick. Instead, visualize them flowing down through your feet, so you have the Shavasana quality like how we started. Then hands to hips, angle the left leg in, turn the right leg out. Feel again the flow through the back leg. You're not letting the pelvis sink forward like this. You're not tucking it. You're feeling both sides are balanced as you bend your right knee. Okay, I'm feeling it. Now tip from your pelvis out over your thigh. Are you guys feeling it with me? Bring your forearm to your thigh and take your left arm over. Oh, now feel that length from your back leg. Oh, it should feel really nice. Now imagine that you had a button right here on your psoas. I'm pointing to where the psoas is in case you're not sure where it is. And I want you to just gently soften your psoas button back. And then at the same time though, feel that imagine there's another muscle in the backside that can also soften and lengthen too. Or reach it through your foot, reach it past your fingers. And then come back up into warrior two. Straighten your leg and reach into triangle pose. Same thing here. Feel into the back hip you're reaching. Oh my gosh. If you get it just right, it should just feel like heaven. Then press into your feet, come back up. Stand with your feet parallel for a moment, hands on your hips. Feel that the hips can go into neutral, so you're not sinking one way or the other. Now turn the right leg in a little, turn the left leg all the way out, bend your knee, tip from your pelvis out over your thigh, and then bring your forearm down onto the thigh. Breathe through your nose. 2 more breaths here. And now we'll go for the last extra length. Now that you've been there for a few moments, you're feeling you're really warmed up. Now I want you to really visualize that length. Reach down from the middle of where the muscle is into your foot, and then from the middle up into the hand. The psoas button, soften it back. You can even touch with your fingers. Soften it back and up to your pinky. Ooh. And then on the other side, in the back, make sure it's lengthening too. It's not getting shorter as you do that. If it gets short, then your lumbar starts to compress a bit. Balance in breath with out breath. Come back up. Oh my gosh, you're gonna be like another inch taller after this, I think. Tip from your hips and reach out over your leg. Focus on the back leg again. Now when you do this subtle work, I've found that not doing gnarly poses at first will help you to access it. So you might say like, we're doing this is very basic. This is like beginner's yoga so far. But you have to find the action in a very basic beginner pose first before you try to do it in something fancy. Like what we'll try We're gonna try some really fancy stuff and we'll see how it goes. Oh, so good. Bring your mind's eye, visualize where those muscles are, and then reach into your feet, come back up, step up to the top of your mat. Oh my gosh. So much tall, so much more open. Everything feels. Inhale, raise your arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Go through a vinyasa. So in the Iyengar yoga system, it can be like kind of rigid because they're like, okay, you got to practice this pose before you can do this, and you got to do this before you can do this. But there's some method to it. Step your right foot now for warrior two. In that system, it's suggested that you have like a proficiency in asana before you start the pranayama practice. We're gonna do a little pranayama at the end. Now that's because you wanna be able to feel that you can actually balance the energies in your body, like we're practicing doing right now, through the hips into the psoas. That will help you. Go to put your hand down on the inside of your foot. If you can't sit up straight when you're practicing pranayama, and you can't feel that the pelvis can release, etc., then there's going to be an imbalance in the breath. Wrap your left arm behind your back, half bind or full bind, your call. Okay, now when you're holding here, this is a more advanced pose because you're doing a bind, you're going a little deeper. Can you still feel the length into the back leg and the release through the right hip out of your back? Is that right hip trying to bunch up? Now from here, if you're in the full bind, put your right hand down, scoot your back foot about a foot closer. Put the right hand a foot in front of the foot, then lean into your foot, make sure you're on the center heel. Connect from the hip, down into that center heel, and then raise your left leg. Bend both knees slightly, and feel those muscles can slack, lengthen into the pelvis so the pelvis, inject the spine through the legs, inject the pelvis out of the lower back, and then slowly start to re-extend the legs. Ooh. Man, it feels like I never even stood on my leg this way before now. And then take your top arm up once you're steady. Now you can hold here, or keeping the length through the lower back, maybe you can bend the knee and take the foot. Oh, here I kind of cheat a little in the back, and that QL muscle is what's the quadratus lumborum. So I can bend again with my right knee, get the hips to release out of the back again. Okay, now my spine isn't compressed anymore. Now let's see if I can slowly straighten the right leg and then stretch the left leg more, still keeping the length through my back. I'm not forcing it, because if I push too hard, then the opposite happens. The muscle clamps down. Balance the opening in the front and the back. Open back up. And now bend your knee, slide back into warrior two. Bring both hands down onto the inside of your foot. Spin your back heel up, lower your back knee down. Hold here in this stretch. 5 breaths. If you like to go deeper, if you're able to go deeper, bring your forearms onto your thigh. It's a deep hip opening experience if you get it just right. But make sure that those muscles from, those muscles are just coming, the QL and the psoas, they feel like they have space so that the pelvis can drop down. Your pelvis isn't getting twisted up into your back. Yeah, because I could just like jam myself onto the ground and I'd let it just twist. Don't let it just twist. Come back up onto your hands now. And then we're going to try this number. Wiggle your shoulder underneath your leg and bring your hand to the outside of the ankle. Now, as you push into the ankle, turn on those low abs. Dig the heel down. And then, as you curl your back toes under, bring your left hand to the ankle as well. Lengthen through your hip. Lift your back knee up. Then put both hands down onto the inside of the foot. Turn onto the outside edges of your feet and take your right arm up. Hold here for 5 breaths, or take your big toe and step up into Vashisthasana, or just step your right leg back to stack on top. With control, slowly come back into down dog or take a vinyasa. Step your left foot. Inhale, come up into Vira 2. Feel that the pelvis is upright. You're not letting it sink because of the tight hip flexors. So as you open the front of the pelvis, you're lifting up a bit so that the lower back feels tall. Then place the hand down onto the inside of your foot. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you really have to go slow and think about it. Otherwise, you'll just go right back into your old rut. Jeez, I'm even have to like lift up. To do like new work also, you'll find if you come out of the pose more, it'll help you to find the action, and then you can try to go deeper. Take your arm behind your back, half bind or full bind. And you might think to yourself like, hey, well, if I'm lifting out of it, then I'm not really going deep. But you'll find new opening so that when you go practice deeply again, it'll feel like a whole different experience if it comes well. If you're in the full bind, place your left hand back down. Now scoot your back foot in, a foot closer. Slide your hand a foot in front of your foot. Lean into that foot. Be right in the center heel. And then raise your back leg up. I'm going to do the knee bendy thing so I can get the pelvis to reach out of the back, and then slowly from the muscles that connect your spine to your legs, lengthen through your legs. You can hold there or bend the knee and reach for the foot. And then again, what's happening with that psoas? Did it lock into its tension? Can you soften it? Soften the psoas button. Move the hips out of the back. And then keeping the buttock flesh lengthening out of the back, maybe you can stretch the right leg more. Open back up if you're holding your foot. And then slide it back, warrior 2. Place the hands on the inside of the foot, back heel up, lower your knee down. It's lunge time, here we go. Eyes soft, soften the roof of the mouth, soften the palate. Then come back up onto your hands. Wiggle your left shoulder behind your leg to hold the outer ankle. Then curl the back toes. As you push into the ankle, turn on the abdominals. And then see if you can bring both hands to the ankle as you lift your back leg up. But don't just let the pelvis snap into the lower back. Keep lengthening the pelvis out of the lower back as you go to stretch this leg, the right leg. Open up the pelvic bowl. Good, then release that. With the right hand down, spin your belly, take your left arm up. Turn onto the outside edges of the feet and hold there, or step back for Vashisthasana 1 or 2. Slowly with control, come back into down dog or take a vinyasa. Then look forward, step or float up to the top, and squat down for Malasana. So now here is a great representation of apana, this releasing energy that we've been focusing on through the pelvis. So I want you to let the hips drop out of your back. Let your back round as you take your arms forward. So my big toes are together, heels are lifted up off the floor a bit. And then if you can internally rotate your arms and slide the hands behind the heels, go ahead. Let the head drop, the back of the shoulders open. Let the back of the neck open. Then release and put your hands down in front of you. Now, keeping all that opening without jamming your hips up, keep lengthening the buttocks out of the lower back as you lean into your hands. And then see if you can stay low into that and just lean into the hands like this. Notice how my elbows bend out to the side, they wing out, but I see if I can stay in the little ball. If that's all you can do, just stay there. If you can lift your feet up and balance from there, that's a really great way to go up into crow with this Uddiyana Bandha action. As opposed to, you can go into it like this way too, but that's just a little bit different. We don't access the core and the Uddiyana Bandha as well. Okay. So once you finish your crow hold, hop or step back, through vinyasa, back to down dog. Then step your right foot for warrior 1. Inhale to come up. Bring your hands behind your back, straighten right leg, step a little closer. Inhale, open up your shoulders and chest. Exhale, fold forward out over your leg. Now on your right leg, from your connecting muscles, the muscles that connect your legs into your spine, grow through the foot, through the ankle. Then interlock your hands and stretch your knuckles up and over. Inhale into a flat back. Stretch your arms straight back. Stretch the pelvis out of the lower back. Draw the low abs in. Lean into your foot and step up to balance. Without your left foot touching the ground, come up to stand, bring your knee up, raise your arms. Stretch your left leg straight out in front of you. Then bend your right knee, wrap your left leg over, cross your left arm under. Uncross your arms and your legs. Stand in mountain pose. Inhale your arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, flat back. Step back into down dog or take a vinyasa. Step your left foot, warrior one. Bring the hands behind your back. Straighten your left leg as you step a little closer. Inhale, lift your heart up. Exhale, fold out over your leg. Upright the left ankle, so you're right in the center of your left heel. And we're focusing on the apana, which is the descending and grounding prana pattern. So really feel that release down through your hips, into your foot. Then interlock the hands and reach knuckles up and over. Inhale into a flat back. Stretch the arms straight back. Step into warrior three. Keep releasing your left hip crease and your pelvis back. Then without your foot touching, come up to stand, bring your knee up, arms up. Stretch your legs straight out in front of you. Bend your left leg and wrap your right leg over. Cross your right arm under. Uncross your arms and your legs, stand in mountain pose. Step your left foot back about 3.5 feet and inhale your left arm up. Exhale, twisted triangle, reach, put your hand down. Turn your navel, rib cage, and take your right arm up. Find the apana pattern from the right hip down into the foot. Access the prana pattern from your navel up to your chest so you're not hunching over in your upper back. So if you have poor control of your paraspinals, there's going to be the tendency when you connect into the apana pattern to hunch over. So just be aware of that, hunchy people. Now look down, slide your hand a foot in front of your foot, and raise your back leg up. Center heel, ankle upright. Uh-oh, is the pelvis jamming into the back? Lengthen the hip crease back. Lengthen the pelvis out of the lower back. Don't overdo, don't strain to do it. Find the balance quality. If you reach too aggressively, that's not going to be good. Now bring your right hand down, fold forward towards your ankle, and raise your back leg. Then bring your left knee to the outside of your right ankle. Sit back onto the inside of your heel. Hug your shin in towards you. Visualize your sit bones like have you ever nailed a nail into the wall you're about to hang a picture, and if you angle just at the wrong angle, then it doesn't go in straight. So think of your sit bones like you're tapping them down, little nails to go straight down into the floor, so they're not angled one way or the other. Then twist, and just feel how much better that is for the spine. Okay, the sit bone thing. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, from here, we're gonna do the option to come into Ekapada Kunjanyasana. So you can hang out here in this twist, or back off a little so you can hook the armpit to the outside of the knee. Then you're gonna come into this position, but turned over. So from here, I push down into the left foot, I put the hands right in front of my chest, lean in, without my right hip touching my right elbow. I'm going to lift my legs up and then see if I could stretch the legs out. Release that. Step back into down dog or take a vinyasa. Look forward, step walk or float up. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale to reach up. Hands to hips, step your right foot back, raise your right arm. Exhale, reach and twist, twisted triangle. Turn the navel, turn the rib cage, take your arm up. Don't lock into the joints. Feel that the energy can flow through the joints. Then look down, slide your hand and foot in front, and step up. Take a moment to check that your pelvis is still reaching out of your back. It's not sneaking into the back. And then from the dorsal spine, reach forward. Oh, wow. That's really going to help to create some more space that way. You might also notice that you get a little unsteady when you find the space. And then your ego will be like, well, let's just go back to the old way because that was easy. Bring your hands down. Notice that voice. That is the voice to avoid in your yoga practice. And it was really easier. Fold forward. When I just didn't have to think about all this. Okay, well. Then bring the knee to the outside of the ankle. Sit onto the inside of the heel. Twist. But first, nail your sit bones straight down so that when you go to twist, you're not a hunchback. You're going to have nowhere to live as a hunchback anymore because the Notre Dame burned down, I think. Did they re-erect that yet? I don't know what's going on with that situation. Okay, from here you can hang out in the twist or come into the arm balance, where you're going to hook the knee, push down through the right foot, put the hands down, lean in, and lift, and then stretch legs. It should just be like a thing of balance. So it shouldn't require a ton of upper body strength. Downward facing dog. Like you might have noticed that I'm pretty lazy. I don't do a ton of chaturangas or anything, but you can just hold that arm balance from that balance factor. Okay, now we're gonna get a little weird. Are you ready for this one? I don't know if you're really ready for this one yet, but we're gonna give it a shot. Step your feet so that they're wrist distance apart, and then slowly start to lower your buttocks down. But try not to let your heels twist in or out. Okay, you might be like, this is super easy. Cool. Some of you guys are struggling here to keep the heels down and without letting the feet twist in or out. Some of you guys, you might just be having a snack and watching. That's weird. Don't do that. All right, so from here, slide your hands underneath to the backs of your ankles and wiggle your shoulders. And we're gonna start off Bhuja Padasana into Titibhasana. I'm gonna turn this way so you can see it. Okay. So I put the hands behind the heels and then cross the ankles. Step one. Now I'm gonna access the prana pattern, apana, lengthen my buttocks out on my back, tuck, 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 tuck. And I'm gonna start to stretch the feet forward and then all the way. Ooh. To come out of it, you can go back into crow, unhook the legs, or if you get too excited, then you fall back like I did. Make your way back into downward facing dog. Then come to seated. Sit in Dandasana. Stretch your arms up. Then bring your arms forward and roll down onto your back. And then as you exhale, draw your chin into your chest and roll yourself back up. You can bend the knees to help you come up. Stretch your arms up and sit tall. Arms forward, control yourself down. Arms back. Roll back up. Arms forward, roll back down. Then bring your arms at your side, legs into tabletop. Keep the length through the pelvis, reach your right leg forward and lower it slow. And then see if you can stretch the left leg up. Change legs. Change legs. Keep your neck long, collarbones broad. Change legs. Change legs. Change legs. Then hold the left leg straight up, the right leg extended. Change legs. Change. And bring your knees into your chest. Roll yourself up to seated and come into downward facing dog on your forearms. Pull your hips way up off of your lower back, then raise your right leg up. Change legs, raise the left leg up. Lower that leg down, reach down through your forearms. Walk back into plank on your forearms. Slowly lower your pubic bone down. Sphinx pose. All right, so here's a great expression of the prana pattern, the opening through the front, where you feel it's all the lifted up energy. So I want you to balance it with the apana pattern. The apana pattern was when we were hunched over and we were letting the buttock drop down and all that. So feel that your buttocks can still release out of your back so that the lower back still feels like it has space, it's not crunching. Yeah, we do want to encourage the opening in the front, the opening of the chest, what have you, but not at the expense of crunching in the lumbar. And then lower your chest back down. Come back up onto hands and knees. Right foot forward, left knee down. Hold here or reach back with your hand for your foot. Then release that, and we're gonna come into half splits or full splits now. So bring your hips back over top of your knee, wiggle your front foot forward. Hang out here in the half or go for full, your call. Okay, then for this next one, you're gonna need to have yourself a couple of blocks and then perhaps a blanket if that's in the cards, if you have it nearby, whatever. If you don't, it's not the worst thing on earth. You might be able to hang out on the blocks. Okay, so we're gonna try the other Kundanyasana. So from this position, we were practicing earlier, coming into the Kundanyasana, which is where you have the leg out to the side. So I'm gonna have you just lie onto the prop, like so, with your knee up at the side. And then you're just gonna curl your back toes under, lift your back knee up, and just hold with your knee in this position, and then see if you can lift your knee up off the ground without shrinking your lower back. So that's phase one. Can I just hold this position, right knee up, right big toe down, press down into the left toes. Okay, good. Then lift up off of there. Then we're gonna see if we could wiggle the shoulder underneath the leg and then come to lie down onto the prop again. You might be able to stretch this leg out to the side and lift the back leg up. Then release that. How'd it go? Let's try it on the other side. So this one, just laying down with the knee up as far as I can bring it. And then we're just getting the inner leg to open up and the outer butt to engage. So press this right foot down, lift the right knee, and then as I press the left foot down, I'm gonna lift the left knee like a Baddha Konasana leg. So this requires a lot of core strength, and hip opening. And then I'll release that. Wiggle the shoulder, lie back down, and then see, I got the wall in the way, but you get the idea. And release. So that's a great way to teach yourself the opening, because it's just as much opening as it is core strength. And then it's what I mentioned earlier, it's just a lot of balance after that too. Let's come with the left foot forward, right knee down. Hold there or reach back with your hand for your foot. Release that and go for half splits or full splits. So this is kind of fun. We did both of the Ekapada Kunjunyasanas, which that's very rare to throw both in one class. Release that. Back to dog. It's headstand time. Let's come into headstand, handstand or forearm balance. Now, I got a few requests for the technique in going into headstand, so I'm going to describe that. I'm going to show walking into the headstand, and I want you to pay attention to how I let my hips go past my shoulders. Now, when you watch this, focus your eye to try to imagine that you're in my body doing what I'm doing and really feeling the sensations. Imagine you're doing it so that when you go to try to do it, you've already experienced it in your brain. All right, so I set my elbows right underneath the shoulders. I clasp the hands. Then I'm going to rest the crown of the head, highest part of the head on the ground. From there, I reach down into the forearms, the elbows, the wrists, and I slowly walk my feet in. Now notice how much length I have to have in my spine muscles and my hamstrings to pull in close enough. And then I'm just going to pull my knees in and lift them up. Now, if you can't get that close, you can do a hop from wherever you were able to get. Then I point the knees up, I lift the pelvis out of the back like we've been practicing, and I just stretch my legs straight up. There's the pelvis wanting to sink, look at that. Okay, I gotta reach the pelvis up. Okay, then my core turns on. It's not turn on the core to lengthen the pelvis, it's reach those muscles so that the core can work properly. Then keeping the reach to those muscles, I don't just hang, I keep the reach as I bend the knees, and then slowly lower down. Give it a shot. So this is really like fine-tuning and mastering your bandha. When I first started yoga, they just say like, oh, just like squeeze your abs and squeeze your pelvic floor. But it's much, much more subtle than that. That's a great technique just to learn where those muscles are and bring some awareness there, but there's more going on. Now come into Adho Mukha Virasana, arms stretch forward, and walk your hands to the right. Walk your hands to the left. Walk back to center. And let's get a little back bendy for a sec. You could grab your foam roller or ball or something to back bend over. A basketball works good too if you got one of those. And take an inhalation as you hold your elbows up. Exhale to roll your chest over. Inhale to come up. Change the clasp. Exhale to roll over. You might scoot up or down a bit on your spine, working around the bra line at the top of it, at the bottom, of the middle, staying right at the bottom of your shoulder blades, not going into the low back. Now find the sweet spot and stretch your arms straight back. Bring hands behind your head. Let the elbows go wide. and then come up. Lie down onto your back. Bring your heels close to your buttock, your feet hip distance apart. Press down into your heels and lift up. Now you can hold your ankles in Chatushpadasana, or if that's too much on your knees or ankles, just do bridge pose. Lower your butt back down and go back up, bridge or urdhva. Okay, now I want to show what I was talking about at the beginning. Here's the really tight psoas. Look, see how it pulls right here and it makes my back go into extension in the lumbar? Okay, instead, I want to see if I can move my buttock, go gadget butt, to the backs of the knees, and then I'm getting an opening right here. There's all this extra length that comes from here that I can feed up my spine now, as opposed to letting it sink into my spine. Okay, oh my gosh, now I've got some real movement going. So I can use the buttock buttons, I can engage these buttock buttons, plugging them in to help to release these psoas buttons to soften these. Squeeze here, soften here. Oh my gosh, extra space, extra length. Hold there, go up into wheel, your call, and lower yourself down. I feel like it's an infomercial for the psoas. But that's not all. If you open the psoas now, then, I don't know. Okay, open your arms to the side, cross your right knee over your left, shift your hips over to the right, and let your legs fall to the left. If you open the psoas now, we're going to throw in these the coins. Do you know the infomercial when they got the coins? And you're like, oh my gosh, I got to have the Sacagawea, the gold Sacagawea. Who's even doing anything with the coins? What are you going to do with those coins ever? But I want them so bad. I just want to have that. Bring the knees and hips back to center. We're such collectors of junk. Change the cross, hips over to the left a little, knees over to the right. Come back to center, take happy baby. And then this is a great one to practice getting deeper opening in that arm balance where we tried to stretch the legs out. What I really struggle with, because you can see my inner legs are super tight, but from happy baby, keeping the sacrum and the pelvic bowl deep and open, you can try straightening one leg and then straightening the other. Oh man, I gotta work on this one. Hug your knees into your chest. And sit with your legs wide apart. Inhale to sit tall. Exhale, tip and grab a hold of your big toes. Feel your hip connectors releasing into their length. Down through the hips, down through the legs. Come back up. Bring your left leg into Janu Shirshasana position. Turn to face the left knee. Smooth from the hips through your knee. So a lot of emphasis is put just on lifting here. Instead, I want you to think of connecting into your roots today. And then keep the connection through the roots as you go up and over. Come back up. Change sides. Turn to face your leg. Smooth down from your hip roots. And then stretch over. Oh. Oh, that QL. Oh my gosh. Breathe into that. Feel how it connects into the fascia for the shoulder and the upper arm. If you can really get into that stretch through your lower back and hip, you can feel that the more you stretch your shoulder, the more it pulls that line. Come back up. Really nice. Cross your legs and fold forward, or take double pigeon. Or you could do a single leg pigeon, because that would be also really nice. Some of you guys are big fans of the single leg pigeon. I rarely do it. I like the standing one better, but that's just me. And change sides. And then come back up. We're going to sit for just a little bit of pranayama. I'm going to show siddhasana, but you can sit in any pose that feels comfortable. So I'm taking just a little lift for my buttock. And then my left heel comes into my pubic bone. And then my right ankle goes into the divot in between my left ankle and my left heel. The toes just fit right into that little gap right there. And then if you have a knee that's hanging, you can rest it on a block or something. Turn your palms up. Close your eyes. Join the tip of the thumb and the tip of the index finger. Jalandhara Bandha, tapping the sit bone root straight down. Open your heart. And then take a deep breath in. Keeping the heart buoyant, let the chin drop down towards the heart without the heart sinking. Then feel through the slight constriction in the back of your throat, the breath go down towards your belly. And let it out. Out through the constriction of the throat so the breath makes sound. Pause at the end of the exhalation. Breathe in. And out through your nose. Pause at the end of the exhalation. 3 more breaths like that. No strain. Keep your jaw, your shoulders relaxed. When you finish your last breath, lie down on your back for Shavasana. Gently bend your knees. Roll over to your right side. and press yourself up to seated. Bring your palms together. Namaste. All right, well, thanks so much for joining me in today's practice. I hope that you experienced what I was talking about at the beginning, why this is such a significant practice today. If you did, let me know below, and hopefully we won't have any more of those audio glitches going down. All right, well, I'll see you next time. Have a great day.